There were 3 cycles of the human history, and the final cycle, where the matrix structure that includes all of the realms, 12 realms of the astral plane, and the physical experience here. The most recent human body vehicle, where we have the dormant DNA because it was made dormant, all of that was created by these beings during the final cycle of human history that we're in right now. Apparently, there was a conflict. The reptilian beings who saw the opportunity to harvest what they need to sustain themselves through this planet, through the population, through the system, through everything. They fought for this planet, they got it, and they created the whole structure. That's when that bridge was cut. The souls that were already here could not get out, and the whole reincarnation cycle was created. They also keep recruiting from other realities to incarnate onto this planet.
Welcome everyone to the Soul Communication. And today we're actually going to dive deep into new topics. We're going to talk about incarnation. We're going to talk about quantum jumping and different metaphysical concepts that might be new for you. I'm super excited because I have my divine sister who I know for many years, who in the past year or so got into David Icke's documentaries, been on various podcasts. Isabella Greene, she is a metaphysical specialist, spiritual healer, best-selling author dedicated to the evolution of consciousness and liberation of humanity. She wrote 2 books. Beyond the Trap is the newest book we're going to talk about, and Leaving the Trap. Through her personal experiences and extensive research, Isabella offers tools and wisdom for navigating the unseen realms and preparing for a conscious exit from the matrix. She's the founder of the Void Academy, where she continues to share her knowledge and supports others on their journey to soul freedom.
Thank you for
Welcome,
having me on
Isabella.
your show. It's been a
Sister.
while. It's been a long time in coming, and I'm very happy. I'm so happy to see you, and I'm happy to be on your show.
I'm so happy for you sharing your perspective with us because I feel like your perspective is different from the new age community out there. And I really value your views because I know you've done so many sessions with so many people around the world. You have firsthand experience. And I remember for years you've been telling me about this incredible meditation you've been doing at 4 in the morning. You've been on such a journey this past year with such success. I've been your champion. What excites you today?
It really has been an eye-opening about a year and a half, I would say. And I was very much on the same page with all of the New Age teachings, which we discussed many times. And then information started coming in that was contradicting a lot of the New Age ideas. I started questioning that, and I started sending these questions into the field, so to speak, when I do my nighttime meditations, and receiving downloads, and new information started coming, sessions also. So everything that I share now comes in through my experiences, my own exploration, hands-on experiences, and also what comes in when I'm in the altered state doing sessions. So it's been beyond my wildest. Never really thought that I published my little book and in 23, and then it just took off, and I never realized how many people were on the same page as what I shared. I thought I was going to be a lonely voice out there, but it turned out that there was a whole lot of people who were questioning the same exact concepts and who had intuitively known the things that I wrote about. And the second book wrote itself because it was just based on my interactions with people and their questions. And so it's inspiring beyond words because I now have a voice that is different, and that voice is worldwide, and that's really inspiring. Another inspiring thing is that the third book is pretty much in itself right now, because the questions and the discussions keep coming. And so it's putting itself together by itself. I'm just the scribe, so to speak. But yeah, the information turned out to be really something that has been missing for a very long time. And now it's becoming available. And there are a lot of people now who talk about the same subject and who are questioning or having the same questions as myself. So that's really inspiring for me.
For those who are not familiar with your work, so let's just start with a couple of topics in Leaving the Trap, how to exit the reincarnation cycle. If you were to talk about angels and archons, what they are, and how is this cycle from your perspective that is different maybe from others
There are a
into
couple of
this
questions
matrix
within
reality?
that question there. And I went deeper
There
into
is.
the angels and their function within our reality in Beyond the Trap with an example. Jeanne of Arc experienced the
Mm,
presence of Archangel Michael, who we all worship and will work with and will call for protection. He showed up and with a couple of saints that she recognized and told her she had a purpose, so she had a mission to fulfill. And then they guided her on that mission until she fulfilled the function. And the function was purely political. She believed that it was for the highest good. She cried on those battlefields that were covered in dead bodies, the thousands and thousands of people's lives lost. Archangel Michael didn't care. They wanted to switch the power dynamic between England and France. Once that was accomplished, that's it. What happened to Joan of Arc? She was just discarded like an old shoe, and no one showed up for her. And that God's will that she was fulfilling through their guidance turned out to be, hey, we just need to adjust a little bit of that political dynamic within human reality right there. And that's it. And so that's a very good example, real life example of the guidance that comes in and why. I now posit that there is an agenda there. When angelic guidance starts coming in, first of all,
mm,
who are they? They're supposed to be the messengers of God. But if we go all the way back, who are the gods? Who are the gods really who created humanity? All of that is in the book of Genesis. And if you are familiar with the work of Paul Wallace, he talks about the whole creation of the human race and how it was altered. And it's all laid out in the book of Genesis. And Paul Wallace explains how translating it correctly and reading it correctly sheds light on the whole experience, the whole picture. And more than that, that the angels, they're supposed to be the messengers of God, are the same exact beings who created that whole paradigm, who created that whole human experience or the human body vehicle that was altered to not have any abilities and to be blocked and to be focused in the physicality and all that, right? And so when they show up and they start giving guidance, there's an agenda there. And agenda is very simple: to keep you alive. How many lives have been saved by angels? The amount of stories is infinite, right? So to keep you alive, so you stay within the matrix system, and then to give you a reason to believe every word that they're telling you so that you will continue following their guidance. And when they meet you or greet you in the afterlife dimension, you fall to your knees and you say, yes, I am here to serve, or I'm here to do whatever you say. But the truth is that the relationship between the angelic realm and the human realm is very similar to the relationship with the farm animals like we have here on Earth. We take care of them. We make sure they survive. We make sure that they're well fed and then that they're taken care of and protected, shepherded, directed in a certain way. Then dinner time comes. I'm sorry, you gotta go now. So it's very similar on that level as to what goes on with the angels. And I would suggest that the archons are the same. It's the same being
Mhm.
presented in a different format, in the visual format that the human mind accepts as the ultimate guide. So it is the same structure, the same beings. They run the reincarnation cycle, they run the matrix system on this planet, and they present themselves in the way, shape, and form that is the most believable for the humans and something that the humans will be more prone to follow. That's it.
Isabella, there are different levels and hierarchies of the angelic realm too. For instance, Seraphim, that's so close to the God source, whose specific role is just more to clear the field, interested in the affairs of the human. Is there specific angels for specific dimensions or specific realms that are more in charge of, or how you call them, the handlers, who are more in charge of this?
If there is hierarchy, that's the matrix. And what God are they
Mhm.
close to? What God are they close to? Yahweh, that is listed or
Mm.
was the God of the book of the Genesis. If you
Mhm.
did not obey the orders of Yahweh 100%, you'd be slaughtered together with 70,000 troops by one wave of the wing of the angel, by the way. And these are the stories from the Bible. There was a record of that. And that record is presented to us and translated as the divine God will, but that divine God is actually a being that has an idea, an agenda for humanity, and the entire hierarchy of angelics or any beings that are within that structure, they are a part of that same system. I am positive about that. The closer they are to what is considered God or what is called God, the more they're serving that being. It's like the bureaucracy right there, right? The smaller, the lesser ones interacting with humans face to face, the more advanced that you receiving the orders from the beings that are in charge of the whole thing or who created the whole thing, and then passing down the orders. And that too is in the scriptures. I would recommend to look into the work of Paul Wallace. He used to be the man of the church and he used to teach the scriptures. And then it dawned on him that the translations were wrong. And then he started digging into it and he dug up the whole true story behind these altered or redacted stories that we know that in the Old Testament and that in the book of Genesis and in the Bible. And so it is right there in plain sight, but we have been conditioned to not see it.
I know you started talking about that our DNA has been obviously played with. That's like the Anunnaki story. So when we talk about angels, what part of it is also that involvement of extraterrestrials? Because they obviously had a big part in seeding DNA and creating the human
The
body.
gods are the extraterrestrials. The gods whose orders are being passed on to us are non-terrestrials. I don't know if the angels are non-terrestrials too. They might be. And nowadays, if you read David Icke's work, and if you think about it logically too, might as well all of it be a non-terrestrial AI program, a simulation that just presents the visuals that we need. And the background, there is like a handful of non-terrestrial beings that need the energy of the human race to sustain their reality, to sustain their well-being. And when they were on Earth, you just, by the way, you just came back from the pyramids, right? The Chichen Itza,
I have the Mayan pyramids. Yeah, we didn't go to Chichen Itza, but we were at the Belize City, Cozumel
their god,
quadrant of the Mayan pyramids.
Quetzalcoatl, what is the name?
Quetzalcoatl, yeah.
He was one of the beings to whom the children were sacrificed at Chichen Itza, because at the moment of highest terror of a child, the highest level of energy is produced, and also the chemistry is released into the blood, and these gods drank that blood and absorbed that energy. And underneath Chichen Itza, there are um, level with bones and skulls of those children that were brought to them while they were on Earth. Right there. I'm not making that up. This is something you can look that up, and you can look child sacrifices during the Mayan times and who the gods were.
Absolutely. Isabella, I spent like in 2012 a lot of time around the Mayan pyramids. This has happened in Tikal. I was taken into the caves
Yeah.
in Belize with a lot of child sacrifice. And the reason I even went on that journey is because I myself was a Mayan shaman. That was one of my visions in
Yeah.
2012, and I was beheaded.
Yeah.
And I saw my head rolling down the steps. So I was too part of that. On this
I
human
know.
level, I was like, this is wrong. What was this ritual? Why did we need to sacrifice? So I'm always questioning that. So I'm glad you're bringing that up because I always did not resonate with that ritual.
If we take Paul Wallace's theory that the beings who created the
Mhm.
whole experience are the reptilian beings who physically fed off and drank the blood and fed off of whatever, let's say that blood that's enriched with the adrenaline of terror that made them high and stuff,
Mhm.
and also absorbed that energy because they were the ones cut off from the energy of true source, and they needed this kind of sustenance. And it's the same exact beings, except in the Mayan times, we know it's a serpent, right? That Quetzalcoatl god, we know that's a serpent god, and we have the serpent gods in all ancient traditions. In the Bible, it is the same exact serpent god, except it's covered up as just God. We don't have the visuals like they have in the Mayan tradition.
So, how does that tie to the Anunnaki? Are these basically those gods that came and they were harvesting gold? They needed slaves to do the mining, and basically that's
Yeah.
how it was
If
created.
we take that story, then it's the same type of being.
Yeah. We are here, part of the matrix, and we can come in into the form as a human because we get convinced on the other side that we have to come back and we have bigger roles to fulfill and we have all these attachments and families and we have been caught in this incarnation loop. And I know from my own experience, my first time I remember on Earth was in Saqqara Temple. I was not a human. I was in a hybrid type of form, Andromeda Lyran. And then we had the gateway, beings were coming in and out. Then they closed the bridge. The Galactic Federation had to close the bridge. And I think it has to do with this hijacking that you're talking about. There was definitely some sort of corruption, hijacking happening, probably a reptilian agenda. And then we were disconnected. But there is a possibility that some animals too in this incarnation as well. Is it possible that a human can be coming in as an animal, another way around?
Before we go there, I want to mention something that I received, and I wrote about that in Beyond the Trap. I received the information that there were 3 cycles of the human history, and the final cycle, where the matrix structure that includes all of the realms, 12 realms of the astral plane, and the physical experience here, and the most recent human body vehicle, where we have the dormant DNA because it was made dormant, all of that was created by these beings we just talked about during the final cycle, or this cycle of human history that we're in right now. And that is something that running on this planet till this day. So apparently there was a conflict. And if, by the way, the of the Dawn, Bringers of the Dawn, Barbara Marciniak's book, she says that there were
Multi, yeah.
battles
Hmm.
in space for this. And I got the same information that the reptilian beings who had saw the opportunity to harvest what they need for their sustain themselves through this planet, through the population, through the system, through everything. They fought for this planet, they got it, and they created the whole structure. And that's when that bridge was cut, that we could not, like the souls that were already here could not get out, and the whole reincarnation cycle was created. And they also keep recruiting from other realities into this incarnation, or to incarnate onto this planet. This is why we have all the new souls, and the population keeps growing, because it brings fresh energy. It brings like this super light being from outside of the structure, from the higher realms, brings the super high quality lush energy that they feed off of. And that is like the best, the highest quality during the first incarnation. The second is a little less. And then the person is just trapped in the cycles. And the longer you're on Earth, the less juicy your lush is, so to speak. And also, this is why they were sacrificing children, because before the age of 7 is when that energy is the most potent, also in the children's who have the connection still. So a lot of that, just to say, oh, the bridge, we lost the connection, we lost the ability to get out of Earth plane. The beings are still coming, being told that, oh, you're gonna go to Earth and help. And then they wake up going, I don't remember anything. Right? And it takes significant effort to remember what was the original idea, what you came here for. So that's a side note to what you just said.
If we would just pause for a second there, Isabella, because the recruitment, according to Dolores Cannon, started right after the nuclear weapons during the World War II were detonated, and supposedly that started affecting the universe. There's law of non-interference, and the only way to change the consciousness is to have the souls come in from other systems to make changes on the ground. So I'm curious if you feel like this recruitment that they're doing is part of that,
Don't you
the Earth to
remember
get better.
being recruited here to come in way before that happened? I do. I wrote about that in Leaving the Trap, when we were both possibly on the same red planet, and we received the call, come help, right? And then what happened? Centuries of like, until this incarnation, when you started to finally remember what we came here for, what we're doing, right? So I think that maybe there was a new level, or a different, I don't know, a different wave of recruitment after the nuclear stuff that Dolores Cannon talks about. But that's been going on from the beginning of the system, because they needed the souls to come and be here and to feed them energetically.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
I agree with you. It was going on for a while. It's just newer souls being really coming in with all these waves in the last 50, 60 years. I think it's just accelerated. The newness that you were talking about accelerated. More and more souls that
Yeah.
never been here, like my kid, have come in 2012, 2013, and they're different. They definitely have never been here. They're just learning how to be here and the
Remind
bigger
me to talk
picture. Yeah.
about the animals in a minute, but I want to talk about the children. People now talk about the children, their own children, remembering the afterlife dimension, how remembering how they went into the reincarnation cycle, were like recalibrated or had their life review, whatever, and then they were in the space where there was pre-birth space, and in that space, they were told that they need to go back to Earth to make a difference. And they did not remember, it was not disclosed to them how hard it was going to be, or how much they're going to suffer, or what what they were against. None of that. They thought it was play. So that after that pre-birth space, the space babies, so to speak, they were in the belief that it's going to be as fun and easy and light on earth in the physical body as they are in that space with their space babies, so to speak, right? And then the children of the people that I know and people in my group, and there was a person on Jeff MaAra podcast. She talked about her son remembering that space, talking about that space till the age of 7, and then forget that, completely just losing that memory. That they had no idea how challenging it was going to be. Like one child said that I was promised in that pre-birth dimension, I was promised a luxurious beach resort, right? For example, right? But I ended up in Motel 6 on Earth. And that's what it turned out to be. So that there was a metaphor right there that her mother wrote to me. And the other child also said, I had no idea how hard it was going to be in the body and like dealing with everyday life here on Earth. We did not know any of this. We only knew we we're going to go to Earth and play. So that goes on too.
I just wanted to validate for you from my
Mhm.
own experience with my own kid. You met
Mm.
him while he was in my belly. If
Yes.
you remember back in 2012, you haven't met him yet in person. He's 11 already. And
Yeah.
indeed, he's struggling so much. And sometimes I have those moments. Why did he pick this? This is so hard for him. And the metaphor that came up that I saw was like, imagine when you put those compression socks when you're traveling and they like really tight, but if you're trying to go to bed it's just so uncomfortable and you have to take them off. So this is how it is. He's compressed so much in here, and since it's first time on earth
Yeah.
he doesn't know how to navigate this. It's just uncomfortable, and so this constant lack of comfort that he's experiencing, and it's very challenging. So I have a lot of compassion for these children, and including my own, because they're trying their best, but this
Yeah.
is dense.
I'll send the link to that Jeff MaAra podcast with the lady who talks about her space baby who came in. They weren't planning to have children at all, but that soul pursued them and talked to her in her visions and her
Mhm.
meditations, talked to the father and convinced them, because that child was convinced in the afterlife dimension that he had to go to earth and make a difference. And he talked about it when he was little until he was 7. And then at 7, he forgot. How about that? So all that idea, the not like
Yeah.
we are convinced in the afterlife dimension by the beings who are teaching the souls that this is why we're going to earth. We're going to earth to make a difference, except you're only going to remember that till you're 7, and after that forget about it. That's it's wiped. And then you have to put all the efforts to rekindle that knowledge, or revive your abilities or your DNA. And there are few who retain that awareness throughout their entire life. Few, because that's what that electric fence is for, to fizz out all of this kind of information. So it's pretty sad that the pre-birth dimension, where her son said he remembered going into the afterlife after he passed, and then he ended up in the space baby's place where it was all play and they could fly and they could go between planets, and it was all a playground that was set up for them, and they believe that they are able to go, then when they go to earth is going to be just as fun. And they chose the parents and they pursued the parents, and then they arrived and it was like, oh my god, this is heavy and hard, and none of that was disclosed to us, and then poop, that's forgotten. when they reach a certain age.
The video games allows them to do that. What Isabella, you
Yeah.
just mentioned, to fly, create portals, move so fast through. And the complaint I always hear, this is so
Yeah.
slow, Mom. It's so slow here. And so that's totally resonate. Love that. So let's move to the animals and how they got trapped in here.
I was questioning that too, but I remember when I was doing sessions and people very often asked about their pets, that I often got the information and the pets came with them from the higher realms, from different realities, but they took a different type of body on Earth. Let's say Lyran, right? Some took human body vehicle and others took like a cat or a mammal, like a lion, different type of body vehicle. But it was the same, it was a soul from the same reality also. So I remember getting that information. And then I worked with someone who had a snake spirit attached to her from the forest. She picked it up from the forest. She didn't pick it up. She was walking through the forest and the snake perished. And there was this spirit that attached to her. And I got to talk to that spirit and transition it. And the spirit said, we've been dumped down here on this planet. We've been trapped in this planet. There's a whole world where we came from and we can't get back there. So please transition me there and not back into the whole animal experience on Earth. So that's when I found out the first time that animals go through the same kind of thing, that same or similar kind of situation. And then, oh, and also that spirit showed me their world, their reality. It was a non-physical reality. It was a completely different state of being. And so he was dealing, that spirit was dealing with the whole earthly physicality in the same way as the human body or the human being. There is a teaching, I think, I don't remember if it's Monroe or I don't remember who wrote that, but that originally first the animals were created before the human beings were created. And then the animals were producing Lush too from feeling hungry or lonely or looking for a mate or for whatever, but it was not as good quality Lush as what the humans with all of that emotional spectrum produce. And so then the humans were made within that final recent cycle of our existence here. So there's that. And then I also worked with a few people, and then I had personal experiences with people who did not have any human incarnations prior to this one, who were in animal form prior to this one. And it was visible. It was obvious in their behavior.
Mm.
It was obvious in their looks, even in the life choices. One woman that I wrote about in my book, Beyond the Trap, she actually was questioning, like, why am I so different? And so she went to have her past life readings done, and they couldn't find anything except that she was a hedgehog in the life before this. And then this lifetime, she was a dentist. So she went to school and she did all the whole human thing, but she did not bring that whatever karma, any none of that from the previous incarnation. Previous incarnation was a hedgehog. That's quite something. So that made me, and I've also seen and talked to a lot of people who recognized their passed on pets in a different type of animals. Oh, that cat used to be my dog, I'm positive. Or that horse used to be my cat, I know it. All right. That happens, and that's very common. If you talk to people who have animals and farms and who are connected with animals, I'm sure they will mention that. But the fact that animal, that I think it's the same soul. We're all the same fabric. If we backtrack to where it all started from, it's just the same fabric of energy, the quantum field of information. if you wish, or the primordial field, the absolute, and then gets distributed into different life forms, takes a different life form. And around Earth, there is a layer that influences that, but it's still the same type of energy. So that's what I currently know.
I totally relate because with my cat, I had a dream that she's coming. She's a lion. And I knew when I'm going to see her, I'll recognize that it's her. So I was almost like waiting. I knew how she's going to look like. So we picked specific breeder. And it was really interesting because I knew she was a girl, her name, everything, Liana. Also, interesting enough, what I was shown that some of her energy, so manifest the soul, as you were saying, some of it is going to manifest as this cat, but another variant of her is going to
Yeah.
manifest as my niece. But it's coming from the same energy source. And it pretty much happened within a year, both me recognizing my cat and having her, and I see how she's so attached to my
Mm.
kid, who's also Lyra Andromeda, very conscious being. You literally can have a conversation with her. And I've had other instances where I was in ceremony with a dog. His name was Richard, and he literally
Yeah.
was like helping me. He was a shaman, helping me heal people. And when I recognized who he was, I was like, "Oh, Richard, I see you." He actually came over, he bowed, he gave me his paw. Thank you for recognizing me. So, with everything you're saying, I've had firsthand experiences. That all completely makes sense that we all in this interesting loop here, playing on different bodies, this cycle out. So, how do we get out? You talk a lot about traveling into the quantum. And I love your technique. So maybe you can talk a little more about it
Yeah.
because I'm all about the void. And we should have choices of how to exit if this is what we choose to do.
You were the one who coined the term Team Void. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And that's,
That's right.
and now I have the Void Academy. Yeah.
I know when I saw that, my heart warmed up so much. I was like, the void team
Yeah.
is now the void
There.
academy. How amazing. Yes.
The only sure way out, as far as I currently get it, the only sure way out is not through 12 gates or 12 dimensions of the matrix or through the reincarnation cycle, and you are trying to get out through the structure will not let you out. If you've entered that structure, you are trapped. They're going to do something, or the simulation will produce something that will keep you in the system. The system is not going to let you out of the system. That's what the system is there for. But the ancient yogic technique allows you to light up your Kundalini fire, wake up that energy, and utilize that as the rocket fuel that sends you out of the top of the head, your entire non-physical form goes out, not just the astral bodies as we have during astral projection. And the force is powerful enough not only to remove the filters, by the way, remove the blocks, reactivate you, but also to give that rocket enough power to send you, but to bypass the entire structure. You're not fighting through the structure, you're bypassing the structure, you're going straight into the fabric of everything, back into what we call the void. I now call it the true void, because there's a simulation void within the matrix too, by the way. So you land back where you came from. That is the space of home. Like you have never experienced the state of home ever. There's nothing that compares to the state of home that you experience within that reality. And then you're back to the fabric of everything. And from there, you can send small particles of yourself not literally particles, small parts of consciousness of that field into experiences without any imposition, without any pressure, without any you have to go back to earth, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. It's a space of the ultimate freedom of expression, but you're not going to be there as yourself. You're not going to be there as a human being or a Joe Schmo. You're not going to remember any of that. All of the humanness is a part of the matrix structure. And if you have successfully landed in the true void, none of that is with you there. So that is all dropped at the moment when you enter the field of the absolute. All of the humanness, all of the stories, all of the Akashic records, all of that is gone. So you are back to being free completely.
So, do you remember anything? Then, do you have as a consciousness any memories of, let's say, your planet Earth experience or other experiences? Like, do you hold any of that, or all of that is dropped in this
You
true void space?
it's hard to put in words. It's easier to experience than to explain. But
Mhm.
you are the fabric of reality. That field contains everything
Mm.
and nothing at the same time. But you're not going to be sitting there as Isabella Greene,
Mhm.
remembering that Isabella Greene used to like to eat her, I don't know, salad in the afternoon or whatever. None of that is there. It's an enriching experience because gain you become the knowledge, the consciousness, and the unconditional love that we talk about. You become that state of being, all encompassing. But it is not compartmentalized into personality or individual experience on earth, or the records of remembrance of what you did and how, or any of that. So it's easier to experience than explain, like in Tao Te Ching. In Tao Te Ching, he
So,
says,
uh,
the
yeah,
Tao
that
that can be explained is not the eternal Tao. Tao is the word for that energy, that field that we're talking about.
it's like beyond the infinite, almost the way I see it. I know you use the breath work. Does someone need to have the Merkaba activated to have that propulsion system that you're talking about to exit out? Or is it just breath work alone allows them? Does sacred geometry play any part in it? Of it?
Some people teach that you could travel with the Merkaba. I don't know enough about that. I did not have anything to do with the Merkaba at all. I literally have no idea. But I heard other people talk about that you can utilize a Merkaba to go. I know that what you need is your Kundalini energy activated, because that is what propels the rocket. And then you need to learn how to direct your non physical form where you want to go. Because the first time is going to be by accident. Whoa, what happened? What happened? And then you need to develop the skill to return there over and over. So by the time you're ready to pass, so your body vehicle lets go, but that time you have a skill so you can direct your non-physical state and your non-physical consciousness straight there again once the body let go. And I would like to mention something about Kundalini energy, because nowadays we have these scare tactics that attack everything that is true and organic and authentic, and really can take the person and liberate the person from the system. And then all of a sudden we have a speaker that would start talking about how bad it is to use that tool and how dangerous and how it is this or that. And so now, literally yesterday, I had a conversation with a friend who told me that now there's a big thing on the internet or whatever, and people are teaching that Kundalini energy is an archonic implant in your root chakra. This could not
Oh
be
my gosh.
farther from the truth. And this is exactly that. This is the situation where the truth is turned inside out, upside down, and presented in a way to scare the people away from the very tool or the very part of themselves that can help them get out of the system. And that happens over and over. And we see that over and over. Now that this year there is so much talk about awakening your Kundalini energy to get out or to burn away the filters that were installed. Now all of a sudden, oh, Kundalini energy is an implant of the archons in your system. Anyone who had a Kundalini awakening will know how false that is. And anyone who has seen the energy
Completely.
field, as I have seen the energy field in thousands of sessions, would see the implants of the archons in the energy field. But it is not the natural occurrence of your own life force, which is the Kundalini energy.
I want to share with you because since we've met this year, I've been doing, I think, almost 20 Kundalini activation sessions in the area of New Jersey. So I don't know if I've been actually in person having some amazing workshops with my sister Chris. And just like you said, I've seen so much in the field. And in terms of what you just mentioned, I had a video that I posted on Instagram where the person was having incredible reactions. They were in the field. It was at the end of a 3-hour journey. So beautiful. He was blindfolded. And yet I had to take that video down because so much negative commentary came in where people just didn't understand. Like they used to very gentle, like flow, which it is. It's all energy, Shakti. But it can be also very intense, beautiful experiences. Just because a person is
Yeah.
shaken, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's actually, but he was just very activated. We were at the end, but people don't understand. So they put in labels on things. And it just got so dark that I decided at that moment to take that video down. I don't know what that propaganda of this is being unsafe. The Archon piece I haven't heard, but definitely there's a lot of trying to put, labels on what Kundalini activation is. Interesting.
That is the infiltration of the true information by the agents, by whatever, to keep the human race in check. Because if everyone wakes their Kundalini energy up
Mm.
and burns away the filters that block their ability, literally the things, the filters in the brain that were created so you don't see and don't have your abilities, if everyone wakes up and everyone starts quantum traveling past the structure by utilizing their Kundalini energy, yeah, you know what? The system doesn't want it. But they noticed that there's been so much talk about Kundalini, utilizing your Kundalini
Mm.
energy now, that immediately there's that, ooh, let's put that on the internet and let's scare all the people away from it. I just taught the class about side effects. And yes, it is not gentle. It is not gentle at all. Have you seen a rocket launch? Oh my goodness, right? It's everything is heated up and it has to break through the barriers. And it's the same exact thing with your Kundalini energy. You ignite in that fire. It is fire. It is life force. You ignite in that, and yes, the body is gonna shake. And yes, you're gonna scream, and yes, it's gonna make you sweat like you're in a sauna. And yes, it's gonna feel like your head just exploded because it got to this part, and then you're out of the top of the head. You travel out of your crown center when you quantum travel. The gentle vibration, relaxed state, and vibrating out of your body. And then you're standing in the room looking at your body. You're in the astral. You didn't go anywhere. And then you can go from one layer of the astral to the next, call it an out of body experience, but you're still within the simulation. You're still within the matrix structure. You didn't go anywhere. And then you're going to end up hitting the firmament, hitting that electric fence, hitting that border that is holding the whole system, and it's not going to allow you to get through it and come out. The gentle levitation, so to speak, or levitating your astral body out of your physical form, that doesn't work to get out of the system. The Kundalini fire does. That's your rocket fuel. I'm glad we talk about it because uh, the propaganda to keep the people from
Yeah.
exactly what can liberate them, that's on, and that's on every level. There is a false presentation of every true spiritual concept, and there's a false presentation of every organic occurrence within our reality. And you have to be very vigilant, and you have to pay attention to what you resonate with, what's true, what's not. And the best way to know is through experience.
We have to discern. We really do so much noise right now out there, and we really have to listen and go with the resonance. If the information feels a bit off, then probably it is. And I'm finding a lot of that. Having just come from the cruise was a lot of beautiful beings. There were those who were not in resonance, and everyone was pretty clear who that is. There's no hiding from it, especially when the compressed type of environment,
Yeah.
everyone can feel the distortions. I had one more question, but maybe you can make it short. Deliberate timeline jumping. So right now we have some people say highest timeline. We're moving through timelines so much, and everyone is talking about this new Earth timeline. Let's talk a little bit about that. We have the control to jump to the quantum field. What about moving between the timelines?
You can move between the timelines for sure. And you can, by the way, utilize the same technique to move between the timelines. It'll be very easy. But you can also utilize the astral projection technique to move between timelines. But jumping timelines within the matrix system is easy enough because the matrix system is flexible enough to give you the visual that you require, give you the next dimension that you're ready for through timeline jumping. But it doesn't take you out of the system itself. By all means, hey, if you want to timeline do a timeline jump into a better reality for yourself, you need to clean up internally, you need to do some inner work to be a match to it first, and then you can facilitate the timeline jump through either someone who can help you like yourself, sounds like you can do that, or through a workshop, through a technique or modality, or you can utilize the same quantum travel technique, but you just don't go outside of the system. You deliberately can just visualize the timeline and focus on it. This is done through going into the simulation of the void. You will know that you're in the simulation of the void because you will still have an idea what you're doing there. You will still be like, I'm here because I want to create a different reality. I want to experience a different reality. If your humanness, your desires, your entanglement with the system is still there, but you're in a completely dark space that feels like everything and nothing, you are within the void that the simulation created. And it works because the good news is that the simulation is very flexible. We call that instant manifesting. We call that the law of attraction. We call it creating our own reality. It is all a vibrational match. It is all based on what you focus on and your state of being, your state of frequency. And there are different levels of timelines, different levels of reality within the same structure. So, yeah, timeline jumping, sure, absolutely. You can do that deliberately, and the simulation will allow you. But to get out completely, you need to bypass the entire thing where there is no entanglement with the idea that you're going to a better world, a better reality, a better everyday experience, or better body, better health, better anything at all. So that would be my answer here.
What if you just wanted to exit, but you wanted to go to a specific star system and just continue your next incarnation? Are you still considered within the matrix then?
I would say chances are, if you have an idea in your mind of what that system looks like and what it feels like, the simulation will trick you and make you believe that you went where you wanted to go. But there are other planets and other realities, other universes that are a part of the matrix construct. If they even created a copy of the void, they created the copies of the planets and locations that you're thinking about. And if you're thinking about that, when you come out of your body, it is very likely that you'll be lured by the system into the space that is going to feel and look and be presented like what you had in your human mind, because the system quite literally reads your consciousness. It'll read your consciousness and produce the visual that you had as a human being. The only way that I see is how to bypass that and not be a victim to this kind of situation is to first go into the void. First, go into that space and make sure that you don't remember any of your humanness in there. You are completely free from all that. And from that space, you can direct a part of you that is going to be within that reality, within that planet that you want. You can drop that part of that soul, the fabric of the soul, which is the absolute. You can drop that part of that fabric of the soul into the world that resonates with you. That, I would suggest, would be the only way to be sure that you're not just experiencing a different expression of a simulation system.
That's really powerful. Thank you so much, Isabella. So I know for some of us who listen in and my audience is pretty progressive, this probably blew your mind regardless. I invite everyone to get the books, Leave in the Trap, How to Exit the Reincarnation Cycle, Beyond the Trap, the two amazing books by Isabella, to continue being open-minded to the possibilities. So Isabella, if someone is interested and resonating, how can they maybe take a course with you at the Void?
Yes,
Where can
I
they
have
find
an
you?
online school, thevoidacademy.net. And I have a pre-recorded course there, where the pre-recorded course, How to Exit Reincarnation, and it has the techniques, it has my recommendations. And then I also just started teaching online classes that the replays will be available. They're in support of this material, they're in support of you practicing and training. I call it training. We're training to get out of the system. You need to train. The replays of the classes on that website, in all honesty, they will be there before the end of 2024. Right now, I just taught them live. There are live online classes that are coming up, and I have two in-person workshops that I'm hosting in January, one in January and one in June in Sedona. And you can join us for these workshops and be in a group of like-minded people. On the one in June, I'm bringing a practitioner who teaches, just for fun, teaches how to see through the mask. I have through the with your third eye, through the mask. If you have seen the documentary The Superhuman, where the children are running around with blindfolds on and totally can see and read and everything, so she teaches this technique to the grown-ups, and I invited her to be a part of my workshop because I think it's fascinating. And we're talking about activating our abilities. We're talking about waking up the Kundalini energy and activating our abilities. So why not have that as a part of the workshop? So that will be June 28th in Sedona as well. And so all of this information, including the links to my books, is on the Void Academy.
And your personal website is isabellagreen.com, right? So maybe talk about, are you still doing sessions with
Yes,
people
I
if
am
someone is
doing
interested in
one-on-one
one-on-one?
sessions, and one-on-one sessions are for the betterment of your experience on Earth. I mean, we're here already. None of us are going to drop dead as far as we know, like tomorrow. So let's make the best of it. So I help people with their present experience on Earth. We do not address much of the exit and reincarnation in personal sessions. It's energetic adjustment, it's psycho-emotional work, it's the information that they might, some of them get in regressions, but I'm the one in trance, I'm the one in the altered state receiving information, that's channeling. So the sessions are really rich, and they take an entire day, and it's an all day intensive. And I am booked all the way till 2026, June of 2026 right now. So if you want to jump on and get in line, by all means, I will schedule you for then, but there'll be a little bit of
Isabella is a busy woman, but you can always take her courses. I think it sounds like that's the best way to really experience in group setting some of this work. Beautiful. Thank you so much, sister, for sharing your knowledge, for opening our eyes to the whole game of reality. A lot to question and digest there. And yeah, we're excited to see you in person one day,
Thank you
Isabella,
so
hopefully
much.
in
Thank you. It
2025.
was a pleasure to be
Much
part
love.
of your podcast. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode. You can visit my website, dianadivine.com, where I'm now offering a special Quantum Master Creator free ebook that will help you to create the conscious dimensional life that you want. I'm also offering other programs, one-on-one sessions such as quantum healing hypnosis and quantum crystalline soul healing to help you in your vibrational alignment. On sourcelanguage.org, I'm offering a digitized course that is self-paced to open you to the divine gift of light language. I'm Diana Divine, and keep connecting with your higher self.